All right, we're gonna move it on to something quite close to us, actually. If you've noticed, we've been wearing particular merch.
What's written on your shirt?
That
Shaniac
and Bugaras, because I'm sure, especially this faction of YouTube that probably follows, Watcher Entertainment, which is led by former BuzzFeed employees,
alumni.
Stephen Lim, Shane Madej, Ryan Bergara, they went through some flack over this past week, which was quite something to go through, especially as us who follow them quite closely. So just quickly going through, last Friday they announced on, they actually had a big countdown to this big announcement that they were going to release. And what ended up happening was this whole video of them describing that they are leaving YouTube to create their own sort of streaming platform, and moving all of their content over to there.
Future content, yeah.
And future content there as well that will require a subscription and subscription sort of fee of, it was six American,
10 AUD.
Yes, if we're putting it to our,
that's on a monthly basis,
yes.
And then it's $60 with a 30% discount until the May 30th.
Yes,
which is going to be like $80 AUD.
Basically,
rough math.
To be able to watch all of their content ad free and support them through that. So, over the weekend, they received a huge amount of backlash that included some particular points of how it was such a shock that at first it came across that they were moving all of their content onto that platform, but then it seemed that they had walked back their comments of saying that their current content on the channel would remain, that the channel would still stay up on YouTube so people could still watch that. But people had a lot more gripe with the fact that they would have to pay this monthly fee to be able to watch shows, even though their release schedule can only account for like one episode a week, right?
Yeah.
Which people felt wasn't valid enough reason for them to invest in this particular subscription fee. And on top of that, they have a Patreon service that a lot of people have subscribed to.
So let's pause on that for now, right?
Yes.
I think because a lot of events have happened since then, which we'll get into shortly.
Mm-hmm.
But the couple of issues here where we have, it's the brand and audience trust that has been eroded because of this decision. The business decision to actually decide to, be it for money, be it for creative license and freedom or whatnot, the decision should actually leave the platform that has made you successful in the first place.
Yes.
And then on a tangent, I guess, from the brand trust front, the parasocial aspect of this relationship where fans were absolutely tearing it up and causing a mad flurry that have now since caused this company to backtrack on their decisions, and we'll go through it quickly.
And they lost about 50,000 subscribers over that weekend.
Exactly. So maybe let's just touch base first on the idea of from a business perspective. Do we feel that was a how do we see, did they make the right call at that time? Could we understand the reasons why? Because a lot of the commentary that was online saying is, well, yeah, to your point, like all the Patreon subscribers, they've had like 15,000 Patreon subscribers. If they're paying $5 a month, you can kind of do the math of how much they're ending up getting for the whole year, which is a lot more than you think. And then you've got all the merch that they sell, obviously. And then you got the ad dollars that happen in your ads when, at the pre, mid, and post, right? So the conjecture about it is like, well, why are you forcing me to spend more money for stuff that is previously free? And we've supported you in this many ways previously.
Since the beginning and whatever throughout the channel, yep.
The question I have is surely you would have thought of this stuff before making this decision and going down that road, right?
Yes.
Kev, what from your outsider perspective? Here we go.
Yeah. I was doing the maths on it. You say 15,000 by 5.
Yeah, at least 5, and apparently they were saying
it's only eight. It's $8,000 a month. I think
$8,000 a month. But then apparently the $10 one is what everyone ends up getting because the value to actually
to make it worthwhile.
to make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
Look, I think it's hard, but like we spoke about this. Like the reality is like I've spoken about this a ton actually. When you get an audience, any audience, and this is the reason why I don't believe in paying for Spotify, but I'm forced by this one to get a family one, is when you get 80 to 90% of value of a product, the thought of paying even $1 a month just does not resonate. And YouTube has been built off the back of this commercial model where YouTube is giving you a broadcasting license to be able to put your content, rightly or wrongly. So the challenge here is the creative mindset, where in their mind they said that they wanted TV, right? Like that level of production,
Yeah.
right? So it requires an insane budget, basically, if they're going to run a studio, one that they're not getting here. And I think what happened is down the route, if you have a business run by all creatives and not like person generally looking at business and the trends and stuff like that, you can get caught in that. You're asking us, surely someone told them, but clearly not, because they didn't have someone in either their network or that said maybe this is not a good idea. Because from a business perspective, that's not necessarily how. I mean, you'd run two scenarios, and one scenario would be it can go completely bad, but they clearly didn't factor for that scenario, if that kind of made sense. So I think that's my view. The concept of wanting to monetize is fair. How they did it was completely off because they gave no real alternative. It was an ultimatum, not a choice.
Yeah.
basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's how it was positioned as well. Even when Steven did his Instagram post, like when I'm replaying back all the stuff that had happened, and the little crumbs that you see, he did make a point to say, for those that have followed us up until this point, we thank you so much, and for those who choose to support us moving forward, something of the like that. It was
the
definitely
wording was very.
it was a
off
sense
tone.
of it's you can't play around with people's trust and people's belief in you.
And
Yes.
people's behavior though. And I say that because like you know what's ironic, like when I think about the TV element, right? Like 90% of YouTube is consumed on the phone. It is, right? Like
Yeah.
it generally is. So I don't care if you're mixing your audio for a cinema level quality, all that. Don't get me wrong, good production is good, but YouTube is the avenue that you go for like authentic, genuine content. And there is definitely a point where production will allow you to stand up.
Yeah.
But if you're scaling at that level and you're not willing to pay for it, then that's just, it's not the channel to do so.
It's the biggest currency when it comes to YouTube is audience, right? So if I'm looking at another example, right? So the Adjacent, Try Guys, coming from the same place with BuzzFeed, they made their own they've made their content, they got the production to a good level, but even like since that rough trot that they had with the controversy in the last couple of years, last year, they even resorted to making, like content with like phones or whatever, right? To fill up the gap. People would still follow them up until that point. And, they were, the aspiration to do TV, you have to amass the audience and amass the IP, the idea to then get
make that leap.
to make that happen and to get somebody on board, like the actual production, like from a TV perspective, to then, they ended up getting a show on the Food Network, right?
Yeah.
If these guys were following the same trajectory in that sense, like that's the avenue, right? Because a lot of their content, it's a lot of costs are sunk into it because they have to go to location shoots. They're doing it at night. There is a very good high quality to it all.
Yeah.
Yes.
But ironically, a lot of the comments from the fans were like, "We love your stock
Standard, yeah.
like quality that you were known for, and like which must kill them, to be honest."
Absolutely.
In the BuzzFeed
the fact
days.
that people are only watching for them, not just like their own chemistry, especially when it comes
the
to like
irony
Ryan
is
and
like
Shane.
YouTube is that sort of a channel like that. Like if we generally wanted studio quality, we'd stick to Netflix. You want all that like there is a blend, you can go there.
Yeah.
And there's some like home documentary guys that do amazing like the production is like you like this should be in CN like you should this
Oh,
should be on
yeah.
TV, and that's where that line is being blurred.
You,
No, but generally, all I'm saying is like whether they like it or not, it's people, genuine
you
connections
need
to people.
you need you need the talent first and foremost. And like the other aspect is kind of live within your means,
Absolutely.
right? Because this is probably where their aspiration as a business to grow, to expand, to look after their stuff in the fair way and whatnot. Like there is that balance of the creative versus the business side, right? Where, you know, if we're thinking MVP in the middle is the way to go because you can perfect it as much as you want. But if you don't have the people to watch it, what's the point?
Exactly. You've just blown out.
To be honest, yeah, it just screams of not having like a very business focused individual there, which is fine because they're all creatives and that's what they are. But like if you want to grow to that next level, like you know Colin Samir, right? Like there's YouTube channels dedicated to commercializing, and that's a very important bit because if you don't have that person there, you should not be hiring another cameraman. You should actually be hiring a growth manager, whatever you want to call it.
You need proper business development people that are there.
To pitch to the brands that you want.
Yeah.
To do because those brands like in YouTube those exist. Why do you think so many people do food apart from the fact that people have an obsessive way of doing food? Because the brand and content integrations make sense and it's something that anyone would naturally do if you know what I mean. Like you don't need a degree to kind of do that and stuff like that.
And there's
right?
a market for them too, right? Because so two of the guys from Watcher, they do specifically ghost hunting,
Yeah.
right? There's 100% a market there for.
There's an overseas market as well.
Yeah.
You know what Mr. Beast does? He gets his YouTube videos, English ones, transcribed and revoiced in Spanish. And they do 70 times
Wow.
more. So what I'm saying is like, they're not thinking like, because you're stuck in this creative bubble of, I need this lens.
And
I
it
need
needs
this
to
thing.
be of this
I
value
need
because
to
that's what success
because
looks like,
if
right?
I do that and I spend 20 grand on this camera, it's going to give me 20x growth. It's not going to happen.
It's not.
It's definitely not going to happen. Anyway.
And this is why you have to look after your fans, listen to your customers, because the uproar was insane, right?
Yes, I'll touch on what ended up happening. So during that whole weekend, it was basically social media silence from the Watcher team, which fair enough because surely they were hitting panic stations. They had to really look at all of these reactions from their fans.
It was damage control. It was proper PR
Absolutely.
management. It was crisis management.
And so come Monday, they finally released a video, a 3-minute, 46-second video that essentially straight out the gate, they said, we messed up. And
Which is completely the right thing to have done.
yes, for them to approach. And a lot of people joking that is very reminiscent of the Try Guys video when they had to deal with their particular controversy. But wasn't caused by them, it was caused by another member. But
Yeah,
it's a different thing.
We the principles of it remain the same.
Yes.
Where it feels that what they did well is they admitted that they were wrong. They listened to the people because they were losing. They were losing
50,000
like more than
followers.
there was definitely more than. I'm pretty sure they
And-
lost about like 300K.
And their own Instagram accounts were being
Yeah,
affected.
like, and you know, Patreon, they were starting to lose people as well, right? So it did come back to bite them,
Absolutely.
but the way that they handled it is probably as best as they
they
could
could
have
do.
done, because again, it comes to the people, it comes to having that trust and that authenticity. Which, you know, we've seen apology videos is like the new thing now, right? You can have an ukulele, you can have like, you know, the couches
crying,
and all that
crocodile
stuff,
tears.
right? But
Yeah.
to lay out the feedback and that they've understood that, to still try to relay, and it's all about the communication as well, right? For the video that they released prior to, it was all polished again, high quality, but and you know, we've heard it time and time again with the YouTube and how it's built upon and how it constantly changes the algorithm. So then you can't, like, you know, the numbers that even these guys were hitting like 5 years before are completely different now, because like we're at the mercy of, you know, like it or not, this algorithm that tells them this is what the content that people want to see.
Yeah.
It impacts their bottom line.
Yep.
So, and their operating costs and whatnot. So to even hear that little bit more in this apology video, as opposed to that message having not come through in their previous video,
Yep.
is pretty interesting, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Again, and it comes to this thing of like, you're polishing this idea, this is how you want it to look, but when you stick to the hardcore facts as to why you're trying to do that, and you're trying to persuade people like, you know, this is the reason why, they kind of miss a step there too, right? Again, it's that thinking of, I'm just going to project this, people will buy it, it's all good. But people can see through that.
Yes, absolutely. And ultimately, the big thing to take away from that video was that now they will be releasing their future content still on YouTube, but a month later, which ultimately, like, people felt like that should have been the deal from the get-go, but it's somewhat the compromise, at least, that they've been able to make with this decision. But otherwise, we will see how things go ahead with Watcher. It was a very explosive week for them that I think they've had to deal with. And I guess the reason why we wore these shirts was just to really allude to, like, look, we're fans. And it's like, you got to listen to the fans. And especially going forward as well.